Hi, welcome back to Icon Coaching. My name's Kirk and I'm one of the coaches.
The key is to get started.
In this week's video, I want to talk about how some great leaders get overwhelmed by losing track of the two versions of now. Let me explain. There's a lot of us who are doing a lot of great work, and we're just in the daily grind. We're in the now. We're in the present. Sometimes that can get overwhelming, but there's a different version of overwhelm that comes when we actually step away and we start to experience a bigger, broader view. We start to do the visionary work of leadership, of looking out into the future. But in the process of doing that, we often have to evaluate the past and what we're doing in the now. What I think great leaders are capable of doing is thinking in all three simultaneously. We live right here in the now. There's also a future, and it is incredibly important to be considering the future even in what we're doing right now. There's also a past, and we don't want to forget about where we came from. When we take time to let our mind drift off the timeline, it's as if we're transcending up off the timeline to this place. And from this higher vantage point, we can actually see the now, but we can also see the past, and we can see the future simultaneously. I would suggest to you that this is another version of the now. Some might say it's about being in the know. In this position, you can know all kinds of things that are not necessarily connected to the timeline, and you can do work around goal setting up here. In fact, often we want to come away from these meetings with a bunch of goals, and we'll outline them all, and it can be very inspiring and exciting to stay in that elevated mental state where you can see all the things that you're going to accomplish over the next year or two or three. The problem is this: we come back down onto the timeline with all that inspiration, all that motivation, all that excitement, and it can feel like we need to get it all done now. And of course you can't. You can't do all of this in the moment, but you can do all of this over many moments. When doing change, timing always matters. It is one thing to set your intention towards a change. That's a very important thing to do. And to do that, we benefit from being in this elevated now. But when we drop back down, what we have to do is timeline it. Up here, you set your intention. Down here, you make your plans. And your plans are always, what do I need to do next? And then what? And then what? And then what? And then what? And you start taking small steps that, when taken together, repetitively over time, lead us into that future. But you cannot get it all done now. Personally, I'm a future tense thinker. I am perpetually living in the future. I'm perpetually 2 or 3 steps ahead of where I am, and often where the people around me are. And I have this problem. At Icon, we're currently working on a new website. I was completely convinced we could get that done in 3 months, and it would be done last November. Then I was very gracious and extended the timeline, and we said January 1st. It's February 1st, and we've made a ton of progress. It's likely going to come out in a month or 2. It's taking way longer than I thought because I just wanted it now. It's not how it works. You build over time. The key is to understand and set your intention in this elevated moment, to come back down onto the timeline and then remind yourself that timing always matters. Another example is someone who has a history of work. Maybe they've worked for the last 5 or 10 years in the pursuit of understanding what career they actually want to go after, what the highest and best use of themselves might be. And they come to this place where they're able to see the past and the future simultaneously, and they realize what they want to do, the career they want to go after. And then they come back down on the now here, and they realize all the steps it's going to take to get it done. And it can be overwhelming, so overwhelming that they'll let go of this dream or this idea because it requires that they have to actually go get new training or go back to school. They have to build the steps in a career path that'll get them into this dream job that they're going after. And they really just want it now. When you can see a change you need to make, timing always matters. So one of the ways that we overwhelm ourselves is by getting incredibly inspired and motivated and then writing down a bunch of goals. But we do that in this elevated sense of the now. And then when we drop back into the present on the timeline, we become demotivated by recognizing how long it's going to take. But that's just how long it's going to take. And rarely is there a way around that. And so what we invite you to do is to spend time in both nows. One where you can see the whole picture, and the other one where you can actually do the grounded work of getting you where you want to go.